Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Series Sellers Podcast by Helium 10. I am your host, Bradley Sutton, and this is the show that is our weekly buzz, where we give you a quick rundown on all the news stories having to do with the Amazon, Walmart, and e-commerce world. We give you training tips of the week, also that will give you serious strategies for serious sellers of any level in the e-commerce world. Let's see what's buzzing today. We've got a few news stories, a couple from Amazon about Prime Day, and some kind of like funny news from Amazon as well, and a potential Amazon Shark Tank show coming out of India. We've got a few news stories about Walmart. There's a new kind of policy as far as how it determines its pro seller badge, and now Open Call is also released for 2023. I'm going to talk about an Amazon conference that I'll be speaking at that's coming up in September that I think everybody should go to. And we also have a training tip of the week on how you can compare search query performance from Amazon to Helium 10 data to get some insights. And we also have an interview with a serious seller out there. So let's go ahead and hop right into the news. Now, the first news article of the day actually is it's from last week, and it's about the first day of Prime Day. It's really interesting because, in a nutshell, guys, the first day of Prime Day was the biggest sales day ever on Amazon. More than any other Prime Day, more than any Black Friday, more than any Cyber Monday, more than whatever. That's kind of crazy when you think about it. The history of Amazon the first day of Prime Day last week was the biggest ever. There was actually 375 million items sold worldwide that day. That is insane to think about. 375 million, and more than 2.5 billion dollars were saved. In other words, like Prime Day deals and discounts, etc. So very interesting article, this press release by Amazon about that day one. I'm sure there's going to be a press release in the next couple of days about the entire Prime Day. Now switching gears to Walmart. Walmart kicked off their application period for Open Call. We've talked about that on our Walmart Wednesday show of the month in the past, how some sellers, like Michael Labar, have gotten products into Walmart brick and mortar because of Walmart Open Call. Now, this is not open to everybody. Now, the key is these are only open to people who have products that are made, grown, or assembled in the US. All right. So Open Call is going to take place on October 24th and 25th. this year. So check out this link in the article that we're linking to, and you can see if you could potentially apply to get picked up by Walmart Open Call. Now, on the lighter side, there's this new Amazon reality show that's coming out that's kind of like a Shark Tank show. It's going to be in Hindi, all right? It's going to be in India. So don't all go jumping you who sell in Amazon USA and Amazon Europe. But if you sell on Amazon India and maybe have some kind of interesting idea for an Amazon product, Amazon started this show. It's going to be on Amazon Prime. That is going to be in India. And, could be a good way to get your business started. We actually had somebody on the show a few weeks ago on the Serious Sellers podcast who got on kind of like the British version of Shark Tank. So it'd be kind of cool to have another Amazon seller on a Shark Tank type show. Now, switching back to Walmart news, there's a news or an email that actually went out. Here's a copy of the email that I got where they're making changes to the pro seller badge experience. So this is how you can qualify to get that ever important pro seller badge on your Walmart products. And a couple of the changes, like one of the big ones is here, the seller has to be active for 90 days. That I think that's been for a while. But for orders, you have to have more than 250 in the last 90 days. All right. So for some of you, that's a walk in the park. But if you're a newer Walmart seller, it's going to be a little bit more difficult now to qualify for this pro seller badge. You've got to have weekend delivery enable time, handling time of less than 1 business day on your entire catalog. You have to have a seller response rate of over 95% and a seller accountable on-time delivery of over 95%. So to get more details, guys, on this, make sure to go into your emails that's connected to Walmart, and then take a look at the email you got from Walmart yesterday. Now, in the last bit of news here, that's kind of I thought it was a joke at first, or maybe some April Fools, but there's on your Seller Central dashboard, there's a message that says, sale of mouth tape no longer permitted, effective July 31st. And I was like, what in the world is mouth tape? So I actually looked it up on Amazon, and it's actually quite a thing here. There's tons of these products that have this literal tape that goes over your mouth. Like it still looks like a joke to you. I'm like, who in the world tapes their mouth shut for when they go to sleep? And sure enough, that's probably the reason why this is now banned by Amazon. But you know, if you run Helium 10 X-ray on this page, there's some sellers who are selling 6,000 units of this per month. All right. So this is not some like throwaway product where nobody's selling it. So guys, if you're one of these ones who are selling these mouth tape products, looks like you're going to have to cease your sales of this product in a couple of weeks at the end of July because it posed a safety hazard. All right, that's it for the main news articles. There wasn't too much today, but one thing that's kind of like a news story that I want to put out there is Amazon Accelerate. Amazon Accelerate, unfortunately, I didn't get to go last year, but it's going to happen in September, from September 12th to the 14th. And this is, traditionally the biggest Amazon event put on by Amazon of the year. So this is not like some third-party event. This is literally put on by Amazon. They have celebrity, speakers. They have other speakers like myself. I'm actually going to be speaking at this year's Amazon Accelerate. It's going to be a good time for sure. If you're an Elite member, make sure to come a day early. July 11th, we're going to have an Elite workshop, and you can come out early too, because we're going to have like a networking, maybe happy hour that people can attend as well on July 11th, hopefully. The actual event is July 12th to 14th, and if you guys would like to register for it, it's better to get your tickets early. Go to h10.me/accelerate. h10.me/accelerate to get your tickets. All right, before we get into our interview, one kind of train tip of the week, and this is something I was sharing with an Amazon Mastermind call I was on recently. When I say Amazon Mastermind, it was actually put on by Amazon Global Services, and there were some sellers there. We were talking about post Prime Day strategies, and one thing I was like telling them to check is like, hey, look at your search query performance, and take a look at where your impressions on Prime Day, went up, but maybe some other metric like clicks or cart ads didn't go up, but their competitors did. We were going into kind of details, but it kind of reminded me of this is really simple tactic that you guys should be doing, not just on Prime Day, but just kind of like evergreen when you guys are looking at your search query performance. So go into your brand dashboard and then select brand analytics and then click on search query performance. And then I like to look at the ASIN view. All right. So go to the ASIN view, pick one of your sellers, your best sellers, right? And I picked right here what you guys are looking, if you're watching this on YouTube, I picked our regular coffin shelf. And this is the week before Prime, a couple weeks before Prime Day. And what I like to do is for my top keywords, I like to compare the search query volume with the ASIN count of impressions. Now, what this signifies, and by the way, guys, I know there's a lot of ambiguity or questions on what exactly is counted and what's not in search query performance. We're going to have a webinar 100% dedicated to search query performance and Product Opportunity Explorer in the next month or so. So be on the lookout for there. But in a nutshell, search query volume is kind of like it's a different than just regular search volume. It's like certain searches that happen, but like if you click back on your browser, for example, that's not necessarily a search. Sometimes it is. It's this whole thing that's called denormalized searches. We're going to go into that in detail, but just think of it as a search that is made, and then you count as an impression if your product comes up on the page one. Now, where there's a question mark is exactly how many listings here on page one are listed. Are you double counted? But like, for example, right here for Coffin Shelf, you see for this week, there was a 3,200 search query volume. And for my product, it had 3,300 impressions. Now, you might be wondering, how in the world did you have more impressions than even there were searches? And the answer to that is that's because I was showing up at the top of the page for not only organic, but sponsored. And if you're wondering about that, you can actually just double check that. So like, let's go into Helium 10 and to Keyword Tracker, and then let's look at our history of organic rank for Coffin Shelf. And then if you look here, let me just take away some of these other products. You can see that during this time that it was listed, I was fluctuating between the top of page one and the middle of page one. Now, some of those ones that were the middle of page one, I probably don't have an impression because I was showing up towards the bottom. And then you might be wondering, well, how did I have more impressions than searches? Well, if you look at the same time period, I was at the top of the page, again, about half the time in the sponsored ads position. So that's why that was a little bit higher. Now, another thing you might be looking at here, hey, Amazon is saying this is one of the most important keywords here, like Gothic home decor, and it had 38,000 searches, but only 2,000 impressions. Here's another word, coffin decor, had 3,000 searches, but I had 600 impressions, meaning I only got an impression 1 out of every 5 times or so that this product was searched. Well, again, let's go ahead and look in Helium 10 Keyword Tracker for coffin decor. And let's take a look if we can figure out why I was not getting impressions at that time. So here under coffin decor, if I click the history and I take away these competitor ones right here, take a look here, guys. I'm either at the middle of page one or at the bottom of page one or even page 2 during this week. If I go ahead and switch over to the sponsored rank during that same time, sure enough, look at this. I was fluctuating between the top of page 1 only 1 or 2 days, and then the rest of the time I was on the bottom of page 1 or potentially page 2. So now all of a sudden it makes sense that coffin decor, out of 3,000 searches, I only got 600 impressions. And now my kind of like, call to action would be, all right, well, maybe I need to increase my sponsored bid on these keywords to make sure I'm showing up at the top of the page, just so I can make sure that for every search, I am getting an impression. So this is just something that you can, regardless if it's post Prime Day or not, you guys can take a look and compare your Amazon data with Helium 10 data to get some actionable insights on that. All right, next up, we've got an interview here with a seller from New York. So let's go ahead and meet Abe.
Hello, everyone. I'm here today with Abe Shomali, and he's got a great selling story, so I'm excited to get into it. Thanks so much for joining us today, Abe.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So I wanted to start out, and just the first question is, how did you get into the world of selling online? What's your story?
I go back farther than average. I started selling back in 1991. I was working for a mail order house. We would advertise in the back of magazines with a big phone number and a small type list of products, and we'd get phone calls and send things to people all over the country. We started selling on Amazon in 2008 or 2009. Did that for a decade before focusing on the part of the business that I liked the best. So whenever I had partners and whenever I was running my business, I always handled the ads. And that was the part of the business that I liked the best. I also handled customer service, which was the part that I liked the absolute worst. But the ad part was the part that I liked the best. And I had an opportunity to lean into it. And 5 years later, I'm just running ads for Amazon sellers.
When exactly did you open your agency? You said 5 years later after you started selling on Amazon, or when did you start that
No,
agency?
I sold on Amazon maybe for 9 or 10 years. I started selling on Amazon 2008 or 2009. I would probably have to go back and look. And the agency started in 2018. So something like 9 or 10 years later.
So, I mean, you've had experience with the platform from the beginning. So you've seen it evolve. You've seen all the changes. So you've basically grown with Amazon.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah.
I've seen a lot of changes, both as a consumer of products on Amazon and as a seller of products on Amazon. The changes have been enormous. And what's interesting is this actually translates into how I see things as I work with the business. Because I've been selling on Amazon and interacting with Amazon for 15 years, and because even before that, I was selling online for another dozen or more years, I've seen a lot of changes of every sort. I've seen big competitors come and go. I've seen people come into the space and leave the space, and I've seen all kinds of crazy things with big organizations and small people, and nothing that happens these days phases me. Whereas with a lot of other people, every time something changes, the sky is falling. I'm like, the sky fell last week, and the sky is going to fall next week, and
Yeah.
you just have to adjust.
So do you think because you've been on the platform so long, I think some people always say, "Oh, I should have gotten in 2013 or now there's no opportunity." Do you think there's still opportunity for sellers?
There is opportunity for sellers. The opportunity definitely looks different. I think the biggest change in how Amazon, I think the biggest change in what Amazon looks like to somebody new is that you really have to approach it as a real business. In the
Mm.
past, it was something where, oh, if you have a few things in the closet, you can just throw it on Amazon and make a few extra dollars. Or, you can just add it as an extra channel easily, or it can be a side hustle, or, all of the ways which made it easy for lots of people to get on the platform. These days, you really need to work on it like a business. Everything from video verification on day one to having your certification documents for the products you want to sell to making sure your listings are really high quality. All of the things that a real business would do on day one are the things you really need to do on day one. You can't get away with an iPhone picture. You can't get away with bullet points that have 6 words. You can't get away with not opening the corporation for 18 months while you see if it's a thing you want to do for real. You've got to do all the things properly from day one. And that sort of weeds out a lot of casual people, I think. But it also leads to more opportunity if you do it right.
Yeah, I agree with that. I definitely think that there's a lot of opportunity, and yeah, you're right. It's just changed a little bit. It's how can people get a hold of you if they want to talk with you more about maybe ads or anything like that?
Sure. So I'm sort of around. You can find me on all the social media. I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram. You can find me under my name. You'll see the spelling, I guess, as part of this weekly buzz. And of course, I have a website. The name of the company is called XP Strategy, and it's at xpstrategy.com.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate you sharing your knowledge, and we'll see you later.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Carrie and Abe. I think I've told this story before, but it was really cool. The first time, like maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I was on a call with Abe. I was looking out his window, on the Zoom call. I'm like, man, that really looks familiar. And as it turns out, he was working in a WeWork that was in a building in New York that I used to work at more than 20 years ago. Like crazy small world stories happen all the time in Amazon. But we'll try and get Abe back on this podcast in the future. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Weekly Buzz. Don't forget to tune in next Thursday to see what's buzzing.